What's good, everybody? Today we are going to look at the updated depth chart and certain position battles heading into training camp. Today, featuring my guy, Abdullah from DMVSportsZone. Next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's good, everybody? It's your boy, Brandon Scott again. I appreciate you guys making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down. The sports stop sporting like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every single day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, all right, everybody, today we're going to go off of the updated depth charts. We're going to look at three main position battles that I'm looking at. A lot of questions with this roster, a lot of bets. Got some young guys that need playing minutes. So, got my guy, Abdullah from DMVSportsZone. What's going on with you tonight, man?
I'm good, man. Appreciate it, bro. Wizards basketball is almost there. NFL's almost coming too. It's this type of year where it's just like, feels great. I feel great.
Cool, man. Cool. Let's get right into it, man. We're gonna start out with the guard position, looking at the updated depth chart, and we're going off ESPN's. Gotta love the ESPN's to a certain degree, but they have Malcolm Brogdon and Jordan Poole in the same backcourt with Malcolm Brogdon actually starting point guard. Now, I'm one of those people who believe that Jordan Poole should definitely be the starting point guard. We were number one in pace in the second half of last season. We know what he can do. He can push the pace. This team is better when they push the pace. Now, Malcolm Brogdon. Interesting guy, man. A vet who, he's a former Sixth Man of the Year award winner, a guy who could definitely start at point. So we're looking at this backcourt. I'm a believer in Jordan Poole, but what kind of backcourt are you looking at? You think Malcolm Brogdon should start the 1, the 2, or do you think he should start out in the second unit, maybe the 1-2 punch with Bub Carrington on the second unit? What are you thinking?
Well, going back to Jordan Poole, we know you're a big Jordan Poole guy, clearly. But JP, the whole Malcolm Brogdon thing, for me, it's still I'm still wondering, like, would it make sense to put him in that second unit with Bub Carrington? Obviously, I think Jordan Poole, like you said, when this team pushes the pace, that's Wizards basketball. That's what you'd like to see. And Poole at the 1. In my opinion, I would want to see like Brogdon and Carrington see what they could do, especially since Carrington is a young guy, and the whole DMV connection. He went to UVA, and Bub Carrington's from DMV. It's just like the mentorship. That's one thing that, like, even if people want to get rid of Malcolm Brogdon, the pros of him being on this team, I just see him being more beneficial if he was with the second unit.
I agree 100%, man. I think that you look because we're kind of going to a next question, but I ain't gonna get into it yet, which surrounds Bilal, that 2 guard. But real quick with Malcolm Brogdon, I think 6 man is the best role. With him, the working tandem, the 1-2 punch, the backcourt in the second unit with Bub Carrington, because Bub Carrington could definitely learn a lot from a seasoned veteran like Malcolm Brogdon. Jordan Poole, he needs to be point guard. I think he needs to be, from day one, he needs to be the starting point because he's shown, what he can do with the ball in his hands. Now, can he play off ball? Yeah, but I think he's a player, Brian Keefe mentioned it. A lot of the players mentioned it. Guys around the league know that he is best with the ball in his hands when he dictates the pace. And I think this team needs to roll with him at point. Now, getting into 2 guard, knowing, we both kind of agree in that Malcolm Brogdon should be a 6-man role, maybe starting, either starting or at 2 guard with Bub Carrington. Looking at 2 guard, are you looking at Bilal right now? Because look, Bilal needs minutes. And yeah, I get the Olympics. Really, he didn't get the playing time that we all kind of expected, but he's a guy who you definitely need to see some progression from him. So, are you giving Bilal starting minutes at a 2 guard, or who are you thinking at the 2 guard opposite Jordan Poole?
Honestly, you put the nail in the coffin about him not playing the Olympics and going in his second year. I want to see that leap, especially with Brian Keefe as head coach, not Wes Unseld Jr. I think at the 2, give him that more minutes, the more experience. Again, this team is just all young, all across the board. I think I would like to see Bilal get more minutes at the 2 in the starting position.
I think it would. Oh no, go ahead, man. My bad.
And I just feel like there's no point of us like him not like getting more minutes because, like we said in the past, we want this Wizards team. We want the young guys to play. Like, there's nothing wrong with seeing young guys play. If they play, they get more experience. And even if we're losing, get a guy like Cooper Flag in the future. And it's just, it all comes in play. Like, there's no downfall of playing your young guys and giving them more minutes. It doesn't make any sense. There's only drawbacks of holding them back and their potential.
Oh, absolutely. And and that really brings up 2 points surrounding Bilal Coulibaly at the 2 guard position, which is in the backcourt where you have a guard who's not really a defensive minded guard. Look, Jordan Poole at the second half of last season did show a lot more effort and energy on the defensive end, but I think we all agree he's not a lockdown defender. And then his defense on a consistent basis is a question mark. He's a scoring minded guard, and that's what he does best. And that's what we brought him here to do, was be that scoring guy who has vision, who can definitely hook people up on the outside, man. Because we've seen guards in DC who are faster guards set people up. John Wall, you can argue, Otto Porter, or to a certain degree, Bradley Beal doesn't get paid without John Wall setting him up. And I see the same with Jordan Poole being that faster guard, a guy who's definitely going to be able to collapse defenses and utilize shooters on the outside, man. So, and another thing to kind of look at is confidence. You put him on the second unit, especially 1 year after you started him as a rookie. You know what I mean? I don't know what that's going to do as far as his confidence. I think that, again, going back to the point where you need a guy in the backcourt where one of the guards needs to be able to defend. Bilal Coulibaly the defense is already there. So, obviously we're waiting on the offensive end. 3-point shooting needs to be a lot more faster as far as his release. Want to see him develop, a mid-range counter move, stuff like that. But the defense is already there. So I think when you have Bilal with Jordan Poole, you're going to have a guy who's definitely going to make up for the deficiencies in Jordan Poole's defense. And you have a guy who's going to be able to score and take a lot of the scoring pressure off of Bilal Coulibaly. So, real quick before we get into the forward position, because that's going to be a hot topic. Second unit, depending on what they do with Malcolm Brogdon, obviously, but Bub Carrington and Jared Butler. Right now, have you seen enough that Bub Carrington definitely needs to get the nod as far as minutes versus Jared Butler?
Considering the fact that he is younger, I just think what Bub Carrington showed in the summer league, we haven't really seen a guy like that in the summer league for the Wizards in a while. And I mean, he's just so young, and his killer mentality. I just think he has that nod over Jared Butler. And nothing against Jared Butler, I still think he has a lot of upside. I just think when it comes to Carrington, he proved it in the summer league. Like the tape's there.
Oh, I agree 100%. Bub Carrington's ready to roll, man. I mean, when it comes to priority in minutes, it has to go to these 5 guys, the 5 draft picks under Will Dawkins. You know what I mean? That has to be the priority, because I get it. We have veterans on the roster. We're going to start moving these guys at a certain pace. Obviously, Valanciunas and Malcolm Brogdon are probably going to be the first couple of dominoes to fall. But you have to make it a youth movement at some point. You have to prioritize minutes for these guys, whether it's Bilal, Alex Sarr, number 2 overall pick. You got to get these guys minutes. So I'm with you on that. Bub Carrington's a dog, man. I mean, and I get it. Looking at summer league is kind of the opposite ends of spectrums, right? Look at Bub Carrington, you're like, all right, this man's ready to roll. He's ready to play. He's very young, but he's shown such a high basketball IQ and such a dog mentality. But then on the flip side, Alex Sarr struggled. So, on one hand, you don't want to get too excited because, in both cases, you're going to have a lot of growing pains. This season you're going to see a lot of growing pains with these guys because, look, I said it time and time again, if you're part of the future in DC, you're not even able to drink a beer right now. That's how young you are. I think the youngest guy, the oldest guy is 20 years old. So these guys are young. He changed, and Will Dawkins, that is, he changed the timeline. At one point, we both, we have said this in the past that, Jordan Poole, Denny Avdia, when you was here, Corey Kispert, these guys, without any doubt, were part of the future. That's changed now. If you look at the Denny trade and a lot of moves made by the organization, that they're going younger, and it is pushing out maybe a year or two as far as really getting the most out of this rebuild. So we're going to look at the forward position. Does Alex Sarr start? Or who starts at the 3 if he does not? And we're going to look at the center position before and after a potential Jonas Valanciunas trade. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. So as you guys know, I'm a catalyst for asking for help. And like I said, at one point it's taboo. Counseling was a taboo in this country. Not anymore. Counseling is something that not only is, really pushed forward. There's a lot of stuff online that can definitely make the process easier for you. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. So look, do yourself a favor. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On NBA podcast. There's no offseason in the NBA, let me tell y'all. And Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and as entertained as Locked On NBA. Available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. All right, let's get back into it. All right, man. All right, so we're going to look at the forward position. Like I said, Alex R. We were just talking about Alex R. struggle in Summer League. I think the sample size is way too small to really judge a kid, especially when we're early on in the rebuild. But looking at the forward position, it's kind of 50-50 whether people want him to start. What do you think as far as Alex R. starting? And if you, going off your answer, before we get into that, what do you think about Alex R. starting at the 4 right now?
Well, before I answer that, I want to see the whole Summer League thing. We've seen in the past players, like not too long ago, Wemby was struggling this summer. Not comparing Alex R. to Wemby, but LaMarcus Aldridge, I remember they brought it up how he was struggling in the Summer League. So it's just unfair how, like, if someone does good in the Summer League, oh, it's just a Summer League. But if they play poorly, it's like, oh, yeah, they're bust, So it's just, the social media when it comes to basketball, like these are young guys too, so they definitely see it on Twitter. But Alex R, even though I think he missed like 14 shots that game, I do not care. You are a young guy, and I want him to play as much as he can, and he needs to start. Because, again, we know that Jonas Valanciunas, these older guys, we know they're not part of the plan in DC. Will Dawkins did in OKC. You shipped off Chris Paul and get some value out of it. And that's what we like to see. And what I want to see Alex R get as many minutes as he can. Yeah,
I agree. And we kind of said it earlier. How do you balance the veterans versus the young guys finding minutes for everybody? Because on one hand, you want to showcase, kind of like last season, where you want to showcase these veteran guys to show teams that they're capable of being that one piece to help them in the playoff run. And on the second hand, you want to give minutes to these guys, especially Bilal and Alex R, in my opinion. You have to give these guys minutes. You can argue Bub Carrington has shown enough. And I'm with you. Like I said before, it's like the opposite end of the spectrum because, Bub Carrington showed a lot in Summer League, but, you got to expect that he's going to have growing pains. He's going to struggle. He looked good. He has that dog mentality, which is definitely what you want to see in a young player, the basketball IQ, but, his three-point shooting. But he's going to struggle. He's going to struggle. And you look at Alex R. I will say this. His lack of aggression does scare me to a certain degree. And that's what I'm saying. You have to put him in a position to succeed. I'm kind of looking at Manuel Forbes. We're both Commanders fans, right? Manuel Forbes, until he added that 20 pounds of muscle and more aggressiveness, we were wondering, right? And to the point where a lot of people were saying, bring Darryl Green in and work with him. Try to find a guy that can help him with the mental side of it because, he's got his people have been on the Manuel Forbes, man, for a lot of reasons. So, and he's responded. So getting back to Alex R., put him in the best position to see, right? Maybe you go out and you reach out to Kevin Garnett. He's a young guy, or not a young guy, but at one point was a young guy who, let's be real, he was never swole, right? He was, he was stronger than he looked, but he had that dog factor. So I think that, maybe you look at and you reach out to Kevin Garnett. Jonas Valanciunas is a guy who's always played with a chip on his shoulder. I think that, he's going to push him in practice and, the other vets on the team. So I think he will be all right in the long run because my confidence in his coaching staff is big. Brian Keefe, his resume as far as developing talent, the resume speaks for itself. OKC, Kristaps Porzingis. The list goes on. Brandon Ingram. He tried to work with Ben Simmons, but I think that reclamation project that ship has sailed, right? So I'm with you. I think Alex R, you have to start him. Number 2 overall in a rebuild, you start that guy. We both agreed that Alex R should start at the power forward. Kyle Kuzma, man. And like I said, I'm not going to get it too over and under yet, but I am a firm believer, man, in 2 things. Number 1, Jordan Poole is going to come into the season with a chip on the shoulder, and he's going to have a career season. Number 2, Kyle Kuzma on the wing. How excited are you about Kyle Kuzma having that number 1 scoring option on the wing?
I legitimately thought that he was going to be traded by draft night. I just don't. I just figured it just would make sense. And we've seen Kuzma his peak, that number 1 option, 20 points per game is what we like to see. But again, if his shot attempts, that efficiency, will it take away the stuff from the young guys? And I don't know if the front office, Will Dawkins, is saying maybe we'll keep him longer and trade him, get maximum value out of him. But I think the league seen the max value of Kyle Kuzma. So I don't know. That's an interesting situation that I'm really looking forward to see how it plays out during the season.
Yeah, you bring up good points, man. Kyle Kuzma, I'm with you. I fully expected him to go to Sacramento for the 13th overall pick.
Or Dallas.
Dallas was exactly. Dallas was the perfect spot. I fully expected Kyle Kuzma to be on his way out. Because people, the thing is, he has a team-friendly contract, not only for the Wizards, but for teams that want to add that scoring punch and don't want to give up a lot of assets to do so. I thought that, 2 first-rounders, I don't see us reaching that asking price. If we do a big if, they're going to be late first-rounders. You're not going to get lottery picks. So I think that, it kind of echoes Tyus Jones. Did we kind of overvalue them? You know what I mean? And, because we ended up not getting much for anything for Tyus Jones, and we pretty much gave away Kristaps Porzingis. But then you got to look on the flip side, right? That opens the way for Jordan Poole to officially be the guy at point guard. You're not going to have that dilemma between him and Tyus. It's officially handed over to him, and I think that that's definitely the direction you need to go into. But Kyle Kuzma, yeah, he shakes trades, man, like Muhammad Ali shakes punches, man. I don't know how he's still in it with his uniform, but I get it. He's liked in the organization. He's opened up a couple of restaurants. He's setting up roots here. I don't think those are reasons that will keep you from being moved. I think that eventually he's going to be moved, but I'm with you on that, man, because at draft night between him and Denny, I'm like, come on, man, 23 years old. Yeah. You drafted him, you developed him, you re-signed him to probably the cheapest contract in the NBA in Denny Avdia, man. So I get it. I wasn't a big fan of the trade, but I do have confidence in Will Dawkins. And I think that's the biggest thing is that's what I tell people is that I don't like the Denny trade, but I do have trust in Will Dawkins. So I'm gonna give him time to cook. I got to believe that what he's doing is for a reason and it's part of a blueprint. So I'm handing the keys off to him. So Kyle Kuzma on the wing, I think he's gonna have a good season. I think he's gonna have such a good season that is gonna boost his value to the point where they're gonna move him to the deadline. Because Jordan Poole, I know we already switched off guards, but I'm gonna ask you real quick before we move on to the center position, man, with Jordan Poole, because again, I do believe he's gonna have that career season. Has a breakout season, right? Has that career season. Do you see his trade value going up to the point that he could be tradable? And indeed so, is he gone to the deadline, or do you see him hanging around for a little bit longer?
That was one thing I was thinking about too. I think he'll be here longer, especially like compared to like guys like Kyle Kuzma or Jonas Valanciunas, because I think the peak of Jordan Poole, like it's still like we can still tap it there. Yeah. With Kyle and Jonas, like we've seen in the past, veterans that are 20 points per game. With Jordan Poole, like you said, I think he'll have a career year or two with Brian Keefe and the young guys around him. I think it just wouldn't make sense just to trade him at the deadline if Will Dawkins thinks that, okay, yeah, we're got to move on from Jordan Poole. Like the value's not there, and we don't want to let him go for free like we did with Tyus Jones and Kristaps Porzingis. I still don't know how the Celtics got Kristaps Porzingis for not even a bag of chips, 0 cents. Like, that's crazy. I still can't believe it, but can't reminisce about the past, especially with this team. I'd say it wouldn't make sense to trade him.
I'm with you on that. Jordan Poole is a big question mark. Nothing against Jordan Poole because I do love me some Jordan Poole, man. And like I said, I was excited when we acquired him from Golden State. He took his L's. We all know that he struggled in the first half. He took his L's. But the mental side of it, that's the big thing with young players. I hate to ream on Ben Simmons, even though he's the easy target here. He's shown that a player that is not strong mentally, how your career can go. And you can argue that all they asked him to do in Philly was shoot a jump shot. So with Jordan Poole, I believe he kind of got, to a certain degree, worse treatment because he was on Shaq and the Fool. The list goes on. He got relegated 6-man role. He performed well. And then when Tyus went down, he started and he's shown that when his team pushes the pace, this is a dangerous young team. Now, I'm not saying playoffs because we are far away from that, man. But as far as, being watchable, this team's going to be entertaining because you're going to see a lot of, progression with these young guys as far as Bilal. And Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma, they're going to score. Now, the question is, are they going to change their games enough to allow the young guys around them to develop? And that's the biggest thing. That's one question I did ask Kyle Kuzma at the exit interview for players at the conclusion of this previous season. And I said, look, man, you got your chip. You're a locker room leader here in DC. What else? What part of your game are you going to change down? He said, look, I got to get these other guys involved. And he knows that he can't shoot the ball 30 times a game. He's got to free up attempts because him and Jordan Poole were terrible with efficiency in the first half, man. They drove people crazy, man. So, I'm with you. I think Kyle Kuzma, I think he's going to raise his value up to the point where he's going to be gone by the deadline. And I think he should be. I like Kyle Kuzma, but let's be real. The youth movement has to start. This draft coming up, a lot of people saying it's Cooper Flag bust. Ace Bailey saying, hold my beer. I think there's a lot of talent in this draft, man. And I think that legitly, a lot of people are saying 2027, 2028 could be the earliest we're going to start to see some progression as far as to the point of playing. We'll see. But I do think that the next 2 drafts are going to be very, very important. So that kind of begs the question I just kind of brought up real quick before getting into the center position. Is it Cooper Flag a bust, or do you see other talent that could definitely help this organization win in the future?
You brought up Ace Bailey, maybe Bryce James. If LeBron's still playing, I mean, if you think he's gonna come, but now for me, I'm a big Cooper Flag fan. I saw the way I was a scrimmage, I know, but him going up against those pro guys, superstars in the Olympic runs, like the confidence of a 17-year-old. When I was 17 years old, I was taking like AP classes. This man's going out there and balling against like LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and even when he got blocked on one play, he just came back and dunked the ball. So seeing a guy like that, again, I know it's a scrimmage, like that's what we need in DC, a young guy to take control. A guy like John Wall came in at a young age, took over the city, Game 6, game-winning shot, standing up. Like, we want to see something like that, and I feel like Cooper Flag is that guy. And if it takes trading like these veterans to get him, then so be it. Because as Wizards fans, we just have to be patient right now. Like, there's nothing wrong with seeing our young guys struggle, which I don't understand when people, like, especially Wizards fans, Alex Sarr is a bust. Why do we pick him? Oh. Hindsight 2020, we should have picked Reed Sheppard, even though they didn't think that at all before the draft, because they see Reed Sheppard have a good summer league. It's just, you got to be patient. Like, we don't want to, and like, so many times we've seen in the past with Grunfeld and just the terrible decisions, trading for older guys like Trevor Ariza, trading away Kelly Oubre. It's like, there's nothing wrong with being patient, and that's the game that we have to go through as Wizards fans.
No, I agree 100%. I mean, that's a great point you brought up. Here's the thing, man. I don't know how far a lot of the viewers, their fandom goes back. I remember the Chris Webber days, Juwan Howard, but the bigger errors, obviously, with me, because I'm about to hit 40 with Gilbert Arenas and obviously John Wall. But we've never been through a proper rebuild. Ernie Grunfeld missed on picks like it was out of style. I mean, Jan Vesely to me is still a hit scratcher. Sending the 5th overall pick to Minnesota for Randy Foye and Mike Miller, where we could have gotten Stephen Curry, to me is still a hit scratcher. Not getting Klay Thompson, hit scratcher. I mean, the list goes on, but we've never been through a proper rebuild. So a proper rebuild takes time. The models, obviously, Golden State and OKC. The reason I say Golden State is that people forget that first 4, maybe 5 years of Stephen Curry's career, he was injury prone. They weren't making many moves. They were nothing close to what they were as far as the dynasty days. It took time for Stephen Curry to really change his game because he was having ankle injuries all the time, man. So it took a while for them to get going. It takes time. And so Will Dawkins has done an immaculate job. Has he taken L's? Yeah. I mean, Tyus Jones, but Tyus Jones to me is not that big of an L to really make a fuss about. You know what I mean? Like, obviously you didn't get much for Kristaps Porzingis, but here's the flip side of the coin on that is that he was going to walk for nothing anyways. So there was always that chance that Tyus Jones would walk for nothing. So there was always that chance. So I'm not too hurt. I think it opens the door for Jordan Poole. So I'm with you on that, man. So we're going to take a look at the center position, man, before and after a prospective Jonas Valanciunas move. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much, I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games. And the sports are sports like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, let's get back into it. All right, let's take a look at the center position. I said before and after Jonas Valanciunas, obviously news came out that the Knicks are looking at him. The Lakers are looking at him. Will Dawkins kind of swooped in, signed him to a crazy cheap contract, man. He's definitely playing chess, not checkers. So before we get into center position, I mean, how we're talking about the L of Tyus Jones. Then you turn around. How impressed were you that Will Dawkins was able to scoop up a vet like Jonas Valanciunas, who again was getting interest from the Lakers, the Knicks, and he's going to be able to flip a guy who, at 32, his skill set is starting to decline, but a guy who can definitely contribute to a playoff team. How impressed were you with that move?
I was very impressed, considering the fact that when it comes to rebounding, we were not that good last year, even previous years, and Jonas Valanciunas adds that value. I like to call him Travis Kelce's evil twin because they crazy look smack alike. Doppelganger, I forgot the term for it, but I liked especially the cheap deal. I saw the vision. I just thought of when he got Chris Paul when he was in OKC, and you flip him here, like when that value is pretty good. And again, the mentorship, he can mentor a guy like Alex Sarr and the other young guys in the locker room. It's just, again, considering the fact that it's a cheap deal, cap friendly, older guy can still add value to the court. Like, there's legitimately no drawbacks in that move. So I got to give Will Dawkins credit for that.
Oh, absolutely. A+ move. I mean, you were able to scoop a guy up, sign him to a ridiculous contract, and he's going to be able to flip him. Now, I would have expected a crazy package. I mean, you're definitely going to get something back for Jonas Valanciunas. And most of these last season, I was really looking forward to, shipping a lot of these vets off. As much as I hate to say that, that sounded kind of jacked up, but because to a certain degree, you have to start the youth movement, and that's what I'm saying. That nothing against the guys we got. I like Kyle Kuzma. I like him as a player, but I think that you find what his value is and you make a move. The only guy that you really consider, Jordan Poole. To me, he's a vet. He's young, but he's still a vet. He's got the championship experience, but he's the only guy that I can see as a long-term vet. Kyle Kuzma, I think he did gone by the deadline. Jonas Valanciunas, Michael Brogdon's gone. I mean, because you have to start the youth movement just at a certain point. You have to start the youth movement. And Jordan Poole, here's my thing. And I was going to say this earlier, and here's my thing with Jordan Poole, because just like we're talking about, and we're kind of get off topic. We're going to get in the center position, but look at his age. He's not even close to his prime. By the time he gets into his prime, you're going to see Bilal make certain progressions. You're going to see Alex Sarr make certain progressions. So when he's entering his prime, because I think that Jordan Poole is an all-star talent. Now, did he take his L's last year? Absolutely. He struggled, and he struggled on a national stage. Lord have mercy. But I think he's going to bounce back, and I think that he could be the part of the future, man, in my opinion. Now, like I said, the timeline changed, but I think that he's a guy that is a fringe all-star. So, a lot has to happen for them to kind of cement him as part of the future. But I think you keep an eye on him, man. I definitely think you keep an eye on him. So looking at the center position, I'm with you on Jonas, man. So, all right, before they move Jonas Valanciunas, is it Richaun Holmes backing him up? Or I don't think Richaun Holmes is really the question here. Where does Marvin Bagley III fit in before he gets moved?
Man, I was pretty excited to see Marvin Bagley, show some nice stuff that we saw last year. And where he is right now, the backup center role, and again, maybe if they trade Valanciunas, Bagley can go up to that starting role. I don't know, though, but I wouldn't mind seeing Marvin Bagley play. I don't want his minutes to be so down to the point where we forget that he's on the team, but I would like to see him play a good amount, considering the fact that if Valanciunas is traded, or who knows, maybe they move Sarr, something might happen last second, but I like seeing Marvin Bagley in a Wizards uniform. I was a big fan of him coming out of Duke. Obviously, things didn't pan out. He was chosen over Luka and just everything that happened, but he still has the potential to be good. And then rebounding is one thing that we desperately needed. So we got Valanciunas and Bagley, and hopefully Sarr will help with that too.
I agree 100%. I think he needs minutes on the second unit. Looking at power forward on the second unit, I think that he gets the edge on Patrick Baldwin Jr. Now, Patrick Baldwin Jr. is still a young player. You still want to see him develop, but you want to showcase Marvin Bagley III because he's still young, and he's shown that he can play in the right system with the right supporting cast, with the right coaching staff. His motor was always the big question mark with him. Coming out of Duke, with Sacramento, with Detroit, he was always labeled as low motor, which I don't want to call anybody lazy, but that kind of encompasses the low motor thing, right? And he, when it came to DC, that was not a problem. He played well. So Marvin Bagley III, I like to see him work in tandem with Richaun Holmes, because with his ability to stretch the floor, I think can really hide some of the deficiencies of Richaun Holmes in the second unit, because we know that Richaun Holmes ain't doing much out of the paint. So, Marvin Bagley III is going to be able to do that, and and allow Patrick Baldwin Jr. time to kind of just learn, man. And when Marvin's moved, then you can see PBJ kind of pick up an extended role on the second unit and then go from there. So I'm with you on that. So, all right, we moved Jonas Valanciunas, whether it's to the Lakers, to the Knicks. Is Richaun Holmes starting? I mean, what is the center position looking at as far as the rotation there?
Oh, seeing Richaun Holmes, outside of the paint really is, like you said, nothing much of a threat. If we do trade Valanciunas, and I think that will happen, I think they put Bagley at the 5, and just maybe Richaun Holmes' minutes will go up a little bit. I don't see like Holmes taking the edge over Bagley, if that makes sense.
No, I understand that 100%, man. Does his ability to stretch the floor, I think, really gives him the edge over Richaun Holmes. I think Richaun Holmes right now is going to be the backup center for, right. I think that's the best spot for him, because I don't see him, again, like you said, with his skill set really having an edge over Marvin Bagley III. He's shown that he can shoot 3-point shot, mid-range shot, rebounding, or, we were a better rebounding team when he came over from Detroit. So Jonas Valanciunas, when he gets moved, because I believe he's definitely going to get moved, I think you go ahead and you start Marvin Bagley III. So I'm with you on that. Real quick before we get into comments, man, Tristan Vucevic, where's he fit in all this? Because I was second round pick, and this is another place where you kind of give kudos to Will Dawkins. We finally had a second round pick that showed up, right? Most of the second round picks probably in the last 20 years on milk cartons. Right now, we don't know where they're at. Yannick Zosa, he was in Spain right now. I don't know where he's at, man. So we finally got a second round pick to play. He played small sample size, but played well. Where does he fit in the future in DC as far as the rotation center?
I think, considering the fact that we see what Rashad Holmes does, like him and Vucevic, I think that battle could be quite interesting. The backup center role, if they consider trading Valanciunas, and I like you said, the small sample size, it's good. Like we haven't seen anything like that from the second round picks in the past. Because for me as a Wizards fan, when I see a second round pick draft, I'm like, yep, he's gone. I'll just focus on the first round pick. And that's the thing about good GMs. They just don't hit with the first round picks. They also hit with the second round picks. And I think I'm happy to see what he can do. And in order for him to do that, you got to increase his role. And I think he has that. He should have that edge over Rashad Holmes. And it's honestly crazy. Like so many moves that Will Dawkins does. I keep forgetting that we have Sadiq Bey on this roster.
Yeah.
The amount of moves that he's made, and combine that with the young guys that we have, it's pretty exciting for Wizards basketball this year.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's the thing with Sadiq Bey before we move on to comments, man, is that's another good move because you can argue that if he doesn't have that ACL injury, we're not getting him because his price tag is going to be a lot steeper than we were able to pay for him. But he's a guy who could potentially take over Kyle Kuzma's spot. And he's a young player from the DMV. He's shown he could play. I mean, he's a guy who could definitely play. And like I said, the timeline is weird, man, because it's like it went back and forth, right? At first, again, Denny, Corey Kispert, players like that were part of the future. Then you see them, they're drafting a lot of teenagers. But then you look at players like Jordan Poole, who very well could be part of the future, and Sadiq Bey, where you look at him as a guy who you want to say he's part of the future because he can play. So there's a lot of moves. I think that when you see a lot of these veterans getting moved off and traded, man, you're going to see a clearer picture of what the future holds in DC. Because again, we're still in the early stages of a rebuild. This season, you may see us win 5 more games. I mean, it's going to be a hard season. It's going to be a long season, man. But I think you can't really measure the season in wins and losses because if you do, you're just going to drive yourself crazy. You got to look at it through the lens of progression of the young guys. So, man, a lot of good questions, man. But like I said, man, I think, we answered a lot of them as far as what this roster is going to look like going into training camp, man. So we're going to get into the comments, man. And we're going to start off this Friday night like we always do. So, I'm gonna pull them up, man. You can go ahead and respond to any of them you want, man. Let's see. Locked on Law says, yes, Sar needs to start. I'm with you, man. I think number 2 overall pick. Yeah, you start that, man. I don't see him come off the bench. Let's see. New Vision Studio says, I'm not ready to write off Alex Sar just yet. We need to be patient and give him a chance to develop. So
no one should be ready. I mean, we haven't played one. It was summer league. Like no one should be ready.
Yeah, here's the thing, man. We're going to talk about the Commanders a little bit, man, in as far as DC sports. A lot of fans get excited, or they're quick to write somebody off. We got to show some patience to DC, man. I mean, people are already screaming at Nats, even though I think they do need to spend some money this offseason. Another day, another subject. But, there was a poll a month ago that they rated the best quarterbacks in the NFC East, and they had Jaden Daniels number 1. And I love me some Jaden Daniels, man, but he hasn't played one down. You can't, you can't give him that title. He hasn't played it down. Over Jalen Hurts, it ain't happening. So it's kind of like that with Alex Sar. It's like, it's way too early to judge this kid, man. 5 summer league games. This is not even his first time. He's going to play summer league next year. He's got a long road, man. And if you didn't know that he was, raw coming out the draft, then you were paying attention. This kid was raw. He's a stretch 4. He's a guy, he has to show a lot more aggression. And that's why a lot of teams didn't see him as a fit at the 5. And that's why he personally, does not see himself as a fit at the 5 because, look, playing center in the NBA is a whole nother animal, man. You go against Andre Drummond. Come on, man. Most centers in this league are going to give him the business, man. So I think that he has a long way to go. But it's way too small of a sample size, way too small. He struggled, yes, but, look at the league he played in Australia. They're not known for aggression, man. They're not known to, have defenders in your face. And like I said, a lot of foreign leagues are getting better. A lot of these European leagues, man, they're churning out high-level basketball players, man. They're teaching the fundamentals. They're teaching defense that they're the hands in your face, old school, the hand on the hip type defense from back in the day. So it's nothing against foreign leagues, but the Australian league is still kind of in the making, man, as far as physicality. So let's get into like the law said, we gave Ernie Gruff for 24 years. We could give Will Dawkins with more than one. I'm in agreement with that, man. If you can live through Ernie Grunfeld, Lord have mercy, man, then you can sit through a couple of years with Dawkins, because Ernie Grunfeld was synonymous with just, I don't know what he did. I don't know what to say, man. He missed in the draft. He could never surround his guys with enough talent. Gilbert Arenas, I like they call him the big three, but Antoine Jameson and Caron Butler wasn't a bad, supporting cast, but still not enough to really compete.
I tell all my friends the biggest achievement Ernie Grunfeld had was being employed for 24 years. That's the biggest achievement.
I'm telling you, man. I mean, he's got some job security. I don't know what dirt he had on anybody, man, but he had some longevity in that position, man. And Tommy Shepard, Tommy is not so much that his draft picks were bad. They just didn't fit the timeline of the team. He needed players who are going to come in right away and contribute, like a Cam Whitmore, right? Denny had to be developed. Corey Christopher had to be developed. Johnny Davis is still developing, Lord Hammers. And then Rui Hachimura, you're starting to slowly see what he can do and put in the right system in LA. But these guys need to be developed. We need the talent to start right away. But then on the flip side of the coin, right, could we have developed Tyrese Halliburton the way he needed to be developed? Exactly. I don't think so either. So you wouldn't probably see the same Halliburton at an all-star level like you would Indiana or even the Sacramento days. You know what I mean? Because we didn't have all the pieces in place as far as development. You know what I mean? So that's just one of those draft questions. In every draft, you're going to have your hits and misses, man. Should we have drafted Klay Thompson? Yeah. I mean, John Wall advocated for it. Should we have traded for Paul George? I mean, you could argue Paul George with Bradley Beal, John Wall, Markieff Morris, Marshall Goursat, and Kelly Oubre. That's a championship team. And Al Laporta, I'm just saying, that's a championship team. So, but Will Dawkins, you're not – honestly, man, it's going to take about 3 or 4 years before you can honestly be in a position to really judge Will Dawkins, because it's going to take that long to see fruition with these draft picks. They're so young. It's going to take time to really, really look at the draft picks and say if they're hits or misses. And same thing with a lot of these moves, man, because the market changes so much. You know what I mean? So, right now, what you see is an overpay for a potential move for Kyle Kuzma. 2-3 years from now, I'll be like, oh, that wasn't even a bad deal. So, there's certain factors to look at. So, New Vision Studio says, I like what Dawkins has done so far. Can't wait to see how it all comes together in a few years. Yeah, it's going to take 2-3 more years, in my opinion. I think about 3 years, you're going to start to see these guys start to gel. Because another factor to look at too, Abdullah, man, is that 3 years, right? Jordan Poole's got 3 years in his contract. Kyle Kuzma's got 3 years in contract. Valanciunas got 3 years in his contract. Sadiq Bey has 3 years in his contract. So 3 years is the timeline. And what else comes up in 3 years? Bilal Coulibaly is up for that rookie extension. So look, they're trying to get all this money off the books, because when it comes to paying these guys, because first comes Bilal, next comes Alex Sarr, Bob Carrington. We'll see him, Keyshawn George, even though I'm a big fan of Keyshawn George. So 3 years seems like that's when you're going to start to see them start to pay these young guys and really start to put everything together, in my opinion. Lock and Law said Mike Miller, enough said. DC Hoopla, my guy, what's up, man? How you doing tonight? He says we definitely need to allow Dawkins to do his job. We are a rebuilding team, so I don't understand the rush. We haven't found a franchise player yet. Patience is a virtue. Amen. Great comment, man. Right now it's unclear who that guy is. Can Bilal be that guy? We'll see. Because him and Alex are still very, very raw. What are you thinking, Abdul?
Bilal, bro, just turned 20. Like that, to me, like that's insane. The guy is so young. Alex Sarr is so young. I know it's hard for me. When it comes to the Commanders switching it, the last time they won a playoff game, I was 2 years old. But the only way that's crazy, bro. The only way to have that ability to, it's going to feel so good when they win that game, or a playoff game for the Commanders, or for the Wizards, it's finding that guy after John Wall. We've struggled so long. Similar with the Commanders, they haven't found a quarterback ever since, a stable quarterback since Kirk Cousins, or even before that too. We haven't found a starting point guard after John Wall. So patience is a virtue. Like, we can't expect to be championship dynasty overnight. And I know it's hard because DC Sports have let us down so long. And I'm just a young guy. I mean, Brandon has more experience in this. So at the end of the day, like, the P word, patience, that's what really matters for Wizards, Commanders, Nats, Caps, all these other teams in DC. Yeah,
it's going to take time, man, because like I said, the Nats, it looks like they're going to start spending money in this offseason, man, because I'm saying CJ Abrams looking good, man. And then the Commanders, new owner, new GM, new coaching staff. So I think we're definitely heading in the right direction. And same thing with the Wizards, man. Brian Keefe is a guy that I advocated for early on, man. Like I said, I had the pleasure to talk to him, interview him, man, and he knows basketball. This is a guy, when you look through the lens of development, this is the guy you want. Oklahoma City, he had a hand in James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Kristaps Porzingis in New York, Brandon Ingram in LA. Like I said, he tried to work with Ben Simmons, but I think that ship has definitely sailed. But I'm with you, man. I think we have all the pieces in place, but it takes patience, man. It takes patience. It's going to take a little bit because they're trying to do it right this time. We have never been through a proper rebuild. Gilbert Arenas, was it really a rebuild? We were just bad, and then a coin flip, and Gilbert Arenas in the Wizards uniform, literally a coin flip. And then John Wall, they took a while. They put him in the fire early on, year one, starting point guard. And it took a long time to really find those certain players in the draft because we hit a lot in the early stages of John Wall era, man. We hit more than we missed. I mean, Chris Singleton. I mean, the list goes on. The guys that Jan Vesely. It took a while, to find Bradley Beal. Even though at 3, you can argue, you don't need to be a draft expert to pick Wall at 1 or Beal at 3, right? But it's going to take time. And I think that I agree that we don't necessarily have that franchise guy yet, but the next couple of drafts, we are going to. I'm telling you right now, Cooper Flag, Ace Bailey, Harper, the list goes on. This is a sexy draft coming up, man. So I definitely think that we're going to find a guy within the next couple of years. And I think that Bilal and Al-Qassar are going to be good supporting guys for whoever's going to be the franchise guy. So we're at the 40-minute mark. We're going to try to knock out 2-3 more comments, man. Let's see. Like I said, I appreciate everybody rocking with us on a Friday night. I see a New Vision Studio said, y'all know DC fans have no patience.
Here's the thing, though. It's kind of valid because, we haven't seen anything from the Commander's perspective.
Yeah.
Bro, like I said, 2 years old when we had that win against Tampa in the wild card. And when it comes to quarterbacks, the list goes on and on. I've told my friends this, Brandon, I'm not getting a quarterback jersey until I've actually seen like something. I was very close with Howell, but with Jaden Daniels, I'm not spending any money on a jersey until I actually see it. The only safe jersey is probably Terry. Yeah, probably Terry. And yeah, no. There's a reason why, but also for the Wizards, like we've seen the peak, and now like we've seen that there's no point in just like being mid. Like either be young and work up to that point of being really good and being a contending team.
I'm with you on that, man. I think that if you want to see a true return to prominence, and I say prominence, I get it. We haven't won the championships at 78, but it's going to take time. A proper rebuild. I think that we have everybody in the right places. We have a front office where there's adults finally in the building. We have a coaching staff that, you kind of look at the situation with the 76ers and Brett Brown. Brett Brown was a developmental coach. And when it came time to sign that big name head coach, when they were ready to make that move towards contention, they did so. And I think that Brian Keefe, man, he's definitely the guy you want in the building when it comes to developing his talent. Same thing with David Vanderpool. And like I said, the ownership, they finally are given the necessary autonomy to the front office to make the decision for themselves, as opposed to being heavily involved with, Ernie Grunfeld and Tommy Shepard in their decision making to a certain degree. Ted Leonsis has finally said, look, I need to let the basketball people do their job, and kind of took a hands-off approach. Said, look, you brought in here to do your job, and I'm going to let you do your job. So
that's how it should be, as always.
Oh, yeah. That's the way it should be, right? So, him finally making that move, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. And I hate to say this, man, but I agree with you about the jersey, but it was a drunk buy, but I did get a Jaden Daniels number 5 before he got number 5, and I was like, oh, man, please get number 5 because I'm going to be that one weirdo out here with the wrong number. So, yeah, I'm so excited about the pick, man. I went ahead and got a jersey. My wife let me have it after that, man. But, it is what it is. New Vision also said Paul George on that team would have been sick. Oh, man, dude. Paul George with that backcourt, with that supporting cast, man, I'm telling you, that's a championship in DC.
You remember when we thought Boogie Cousins could have been a possibility?
I thought they should have made that move, especially when he was traded from Sacramento to New Orleans Pelicans. I thought that was the moves you made, man, right, because with his versatility at center position, come on, man.
What John Wall was doing with Marcin Gortat, imagine doing with the top 3 center at the time with DeMarcus Cousins. Like, the pick and rolls would have been so elite.
I'm with you, man. That would have been a definite championship team, man. The scoring, the defense, the list goes on. So just another one of those what could have been in DC sports, man, right? So we got a couple. I know so many of them. Lord have mercy. So we got a few comments, and we're gonna roll out after that, man. Concerning the draft, my guy DC Onion says I like Ace Bailey. I'm a big Ace Bailey guy too, man. I think, man, he's definitely gonna say hold my beer when he's number one overall pick with Cooper Flag. Even though Cooper Flag is definitely, man, a star potential pick. DC Hoopla against Ace Carter Knox, Flag, VJ. The draft next year is going to be loaded with prospects. Next year is going to be the hitter, man. And I think that, look, like I said this year, when moving back into the lottery, Will Dawkins was able to move back into the lottery with the 12th pick, man. I think that with all these second round picks, because we own almost every second round pick within the next 20 years. I mean, package some of these picks, man, and get back into the lottery in these drafts coming up. Go heavy on prospects, man. Get as much talent in here, young talent you can in DC. So this draft coming up, I go back into the lottery easy and try to grab a couple guys, man. Because if you can maybe find 2 cornerstones and add that to the 5 draft picks we already have, man, I think we're cooking with grease, man. I'm just saying, these next 2 drafts are very important with the direction of the Washington Wizards. That if we hit in these next 2 drafts, man, I'm trying to tell you, 2027, man, you're going to see something cooking in DC. So let's see. I'm going to go ahead and call it, man. We definitely appreciate everybody rocking with us on a Friday night, man, because we're about to start Friday night like we always do. So, hey, man, again, Abdullah, man, appreciate you coming on, man. It's always a pleasure, man. We're going to have you on time. It's not going to be the last time, man. We definitely going to see you on here a lot more, man. So definitely appreciate you, man. So before we roll, man, DMVSportsZone, man, doing immaculate work over there, you guys, man. Anything else you want to plug real quick?
No, just DMVSportsZone on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. I've been posting a lot of Instagram reels. I didn't know that they were such a big thing. They've been did some interviews with players in the past and some coaches. And I love it, bro. Like growing up, just watching sports has been a thing, and just talking about it with other people, one of my favorite things to do in life. So I appreciate it again, Brandon.
Oh, anytime, man. Like I said, it's always a pleasure having you on the show talking ball, man. So it's not gonna be the last time, man. So we definitely gonna see you soon, man. So all right, everybody, definitely appreciate everybody. But before we do, I want to let you guys know that thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today. Now go check out Locked On NBA podcast, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find a link to Locked On NBA in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. So again, definitely appreciate my guy Abdullah, man. And I definitely, again, as always, man, I appreciate you guys rocking with your boy on a Friday night. So again, if you do not know, I actually put it out on Twitter and on the YouTube side this month, and going to September 15th next month, we will be operating on 3 episodes a week. So look out for videos on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, subject to change, obviously. But look for me to drop episodes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So definitely looking forward to chopping up with you guys on Monday. So again, hope everybody has a safe and blessed weekend. If you drink responsibly. All right. So again, I will see you guys Monday. Hail to the Wizards and peace. See you guys next time.